Hey everyone, Newman here with 910, and today we are going over the FX Maverick Hammerweight assembly. It's supposed to be public information, but some people haven't quite gotten the message yet. For every different caliber of the FX Maverick, there's a different hammerweight. And here I have the different hammerweights listed out. So I just want to go over how to identify the hammerweights as well as changing them out, what caliber they're for. And also showing you how to get to the hammerweight back here. So anyways, we're going to start off with the hammerweights. We've got these two right here. These are the what they call the 7-gram hammerweights. This was the original one. It's actually the same one using the FX power plenum, or the FX impact power plenum. This is the new design that FX Sweden made to go in the rifles. It just fits obviously better because you don't have to have that hole through the hammerweight in order for the Maverick because there's no valve rod. That's just a little bit of weight. That's for 177 and low power 22 caliber. So like a 22 caliber, you're going to only be shooting pellets on. This typically, it doesn't matter though, how it comes from the factory is with this one. So 177 and 22 caliber is going to have either one of these weights. Like I said, this is kind of the older model and this is the newer model, but it can still have either because they both do the same exact thing. So we're going to take those, set them to the side. Then we have this guy. This is called the 11-gram hammerweight. It's for the 25 caliber Maverick. It's also the common hammerweight for the Wildcat Mark III. Pretty much every Wildcat Mark III has this, but only the 25 caliber Mavericks are supposed to have this weight. If you're trying to get one from FX USA, like let's say you went from a 22 to a 25, or you just want to shoot a little bit higher power in your 22 caliber, the part number is 19215. If you're in the United States, you can order that from FX USA. Elsewhere in the world, you'll have to contact your local distributor. Okay, set that to the side. And then we have the big boy. Or actually, it's not that big, but still, this is the 13-gram hammerweight. This is what's in the 30 caliber Maverick. It's also, for instance, what was used to be in the FX Boss. I believe it's also in the FX Power Pup. Typically, this is used with a 52 millimeter hammer spring, similar to what's in the FX Impact Power Plenum, rather than the normal 56 millimeter hammer spring that's in pretty much every other FX rifle. That's just due to the size of the head, causes more compression. If you compress it too much, it can cause inconsistencies. It is okay to use this with the 56 millimeter hammer spring if you're looking for high power. But naturally, and for the best consistency, you're going to be looking at the 52 millimeter hammer spring with this weight. Again, this is the 13-gram hammer weight. This is for the 30 caliber. If you're trying to do some really high power 22 or just some high power 25 or just any power 30 caliber, you're going to need this weight. And also, like if you're doing a barrel conversion, you're going to want to pick up this hammer weight as well. If you're going from like a 22 or 25 up to a 30, you're going to want to pick up this weight right here. Like I say, you don't have to worry too much about getting the hammer spring unless you're okay with the lower power on the 30 cal side. But yeah, so don't worry about getting the hammer spring extra. Just this weight is the most important part. Once again, if you're in the United States, the part number from FX USA is 17003. If you are elsewhere in the world, you'll have to contact your local distributor or dealer to find out what their part number is or if they even have this available. Alright, I'm going to set this to the side now. And we're going to get to the gun now. So what now I'm going to show you is how to get to the actual hammerweight, how to get inside the action here to access the hammerweight so you can change it out, and where exactly it's located. Which, yeah, it's right in here. It's behind the wheel. So once you take the wheel off, you'll have the spring guide, you'll have the hammer spring, and then you'll have your hammer weight. You don't have to take the sear out or anything else out in order to access that. As you see on my current action here, or my current chassis I should say, I have the side plates removed. Normally on the FX Maverick, there's side plates right here that block the hammer wheel in like this. So you can't just pop the wheel off the back. So you have two options. You can either take these plates off in order to access the wheel, or you can take the chassis off. The chassis has two screws. There's one 3mm back here, and then there is another 2.5mm right here. If I take that, you see the 2.5 right there, and if I take this out of the vise, you see the 3mm one right there. Or I say 3mm as in it uses a 3mm Allen, and this one uses a 2.5mm Allen. That's how I take the chassis off, but like I said, I've already got these plates off in the back, so I don't have to do anything else. So I'm going to readjust the camera in order to help show the disassembly of this wheel and how to pull the parts out the back. Alright, so now we have the action revised up here in a way that I can actually access the power adjustment in order to show you how to take off the power wheel here to access the internals. So it's actually really quick and easy. All you need is a 2.5mm. Let's see, 2.5mm right here in the middle. There is a spring and ball bearing underneath this wheel. That's what makes it click, so be careful with that. Make sure the rifle is decocked, as in it's not cocked, and also it is degassed, I recommend. There is two different lengths of screw. The earlier models had a shorter screw. As you can see, this is one of the newer models, so it has a little bit of a longer screw. Don't worry about the screws. That has nothing to do with this video, so that's, yeah, just so you know, don't be worried if there's a different length screw than this. Alright, going to set this down to the side. Going to grab the power wheel now, and like I said, there is a ball bearing, so be careful with that. Ball bearing, and there's your spring. It'll stay in the hole, and as you can see now, down in there is the spring holder. Alright, so we're at the next section now. You need a pair of forceps to access the spring holder. You just grab it out just like that. You can use forceps or maybe needle nose pliers. You can also tilt the gun backwards, but if you do that, you take the risk of losing that little spring right there, so it's not always recommended. In any case, you've got your spring holder here with your hammer adjustment screw and the adjustment lock screw. While you're in here, you just always want to make sure that's nice and tight, since it does happen to be a 2.5. This screw is what holds down or presses against this screw right here to make sure it's nice and tight and doesn't move on you. Alright, so we're going to set that to the side. And the last step is to grab the hammer spring before the hammer weight. So there's your hammer spring. Alright, going to set that to the side. And the last step is down in there is the hammer weight. And there we go. So this was obviously a 22 caliber. As you can see, it's got the old 22 weight in it. Like I said, I call it the old, but they're still mixed in there. There's some that are going to have this and some that are going to have. So there we go. There's the two different weights. Some will have this, some will have this. For 22 caliber, these do the exact same things. They actually weigh pretty much within a half a gram of each other. So it's pretty much doing the exact same thing, these two weights. So just for show, I'm going to pretend like I'm upgrading this rifle to a 25 caliber. So I got my 25 caliber weight here, which is the 11 gram. Again, that's part number 19215 in America. So I'm going to take that, drop it down in there, make sure it goes into the hammer weight. Once it's in the hammer weight, you'll then grab your hammer spring. You drop that in there on top of the hammer weight. Make sure it goes over the hammer weight and into the hammer itself. And then you got your spring guide. You're going to line that up with the spring. And then also this channel right here is for this screw. You drop that in there just like that. Okay, so final step here is to put the power wheel back on. So you've got your ball bearing. And gently set that into place. Right there. So you no longer need the forceps because you're putting on the power wheel. So it's best to like half enter it like that. Come over here, hold the wheel in place right above the ball bearing but not touching it. And then slowly get thread started. Make sure you do not cross thread. The first little wall of the threads is very thin. And then once you're in there, you're going to press down against the ball bearing and thread in the screw. You press down on the ball bearing so you do not lose it. If you're able to do that, that means you're still on the ball bearing, which is still on the screw, and you will not lose it. Tighten the screw. It doesn't have to be super tight. Just make sure it's snug. And there you go. And now we've upgraded this rifle to a 25 caliber. Okay, just to wrap up the final overview, this was the FX Maverick Hammerweight guide. Went over the different calibers that the hammerweights are associated to, as well as how to access the hammerweight and how to or remove the old one and install a new one if you're doing a caliber change. These first two weights are the 7-gram hammer weights. Those are for the 177 and 22 caliber. Your middle weight is the 11-gram weight. That's for the 25 caliber. And the last weight there is the 13-gram weight used for the 30 caliber. Your 22 caliber and 25 caliber will naturally come with a 56 millimeter hammer spring, and the 30 caliber will have a 52 millimeter hammer spring. If you ever want to do a caliber upgrade, or if you want to have a little bit more power in your 30 caliber, you can use a 56 millimeter hammer spring in your 30 caliber. Just remember not to do a low power tune or a shot count efficiency tune, because you're not going to be able to get it correctly. If you ever want to get high power or very high power in the 22 caliber, you can use either the 11 gram and then the 13 gram, or if you want high power in the 25 caliber, you can use the 11 gram. Okay, I hope this answers all the questions about it. If you have more questions, feel free to leave those in the comment section below. Or you can shoot me an email at info@910airgun tuning and repairs LLC.com. Alright, and feel free to stop by the website, check things out there. And as always, happy shooting, guys.